unfortunately, they all did pass away by the end of the day due to their injuries. James happened to be on the town drinking during all of this, and it was also seen by multiple witnesses who, because this was during Prohibition era when you shouldn't have been drinking, also noticed he smelled a lot like alcohol and gasoline, and it happened to, well, put the two and two together. Now, thankfully, Mr. James Foster was tried for his crimes and hanged in Canyon City, but after Bernice had found out that her whole family, because this was one of their nieces who was living with them at the time, she had found out while she was in school that her entire family had basically been killed, and so she ended up taking her own life as well. But Mr. Foster was hanged in Canyon City and then buried here alongside the rest of his family members. Now,
How is that fair?
the saddest part, oh, you guys don't even have a clue yet. The saddest part, in my opinion, and this part always gets me the worst, and it hurts my absolute soul, and I know every single one of them on this list also hurts, other than James. But, so, unfortunately, well, let's take a guess first, because I want to see what y'all would think. Who paid for them to all be buried together? Nope, it was his sisters-in-law. Myrtle's sisters paid for this grave, for him to be at the top of the grave and to be included in the family grave.
I wonder if somebody made them do it. If somebody made them, I don't know, or if they felt pressured too because of the times.
There were women. You think they had a voice? You really think they had a choice in that matter?
Well,
No, somebody told them it had to be done and they had to do it to save face.
Well,
It's either that or they're
I just saying
disgraced and
it's a
disowned.
tradition because I've seen going east, middle of nowhere, little cemeteries, and all the family members all together. They say that's a tradition in old days. It doesn't matter if they're all good or all bad or in between.
But as the women, and it was tradition, they did not have a choice. If they didn't do it, they were going to be blackballed.
well,
Huh?
I think it was pressure, not like a choice.
That's what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
they didn't have options.
Yeah.
They were women and there was expectations. And if you break those expectations, you get shunned, blackballed, you get murdered. Socially or otherwise.
well,
So are all the caskets of all the family members?
they were all buried together here.
And some of them are babies too. I wonder how much their bodies even survived. There's probably not too much left of some of them.
It's very unfortunate, and we are now left with a sad reminder to, well, what happened and what not to do nowadays. But we go ahead and take this time to respect them for the fact that, well, it's sad that this happened to them, and we do get a lot of activity from Myrtle in specific, talking about how angry she is that this happened to her. We'll go ahead and pull out some of our investigative tools while you guys research as well, and we'll see what we get. What would you guys like to start with out here? Cat balls or spirit box? What else do we got?
I'm going to just walk around so I could get movement going.
Last week actually said that she
Mm.
felt that Jim
Yeah.
was not here, that he had moved on, but that the wife Myrtle was very much here, and I think that Sarah was here as well. The cultural stuff. I don't know if Sarah did pick up on anything similar to that or not, but let's spirit box this.
I think one of the weirdest things to me is Jim's defense was that his wife had done it. Had lit the whole house on fire and put herself back in bed. Yeah.
Likely story.
Thought I heard my
Anybody from the Foster family?
thought I heard my name. Thought I heard my name. Gotta move.
Myrtle, could you be here?
It almost sounded like they said yes.
That was, they're talking about me. I hate these stories.
Oh, that was you?
I'm angry, yeah, I'm angry.
Gotta make it louder. There we go.
Anybody from the Foster family wants to say anything to us? Anybody have any questions?
What was that?
Whoa. Whoever that was, thank you. Can you tell us something else about you? Jim, is it you? Do you need us to know anything about you?
Warm enough? Okay, good. No.
Playing music for us? Do you think it's too cold for us to be out here right now? Are we crazy?
Yes. Because if you have to ask me, then I don't know.
Should we leave you guys resting?
Yes. It's a yes.
It's so cold out here. We'll leave you.
Yo, I want to freeze. That's on you.
Were you aware of
It
like
said
how-
burning, by the way.
It did?
Yeah.
How much the house like burned before they were able to find people? I feel like people maybe died from like
The
suffocation
house
of the
didn't
smoke
burn
more
for
than
very
anything.
long.
Yeah, I
'Cause it
think
was
it's
in
more of the
town.
suffocation death than a burn death.
Yeah.
Most of them died in their sleep. It was just the one who had survived and she was climbing through the fire. So she died of burns, but the rest of them died of smoke. So sad.
Well, guys, what do you think? Next stop,
Yeah.
shall we? Okay.
That was neat. We got a couple answers.
I love how these two like female spirits are like, get out, it's cold.
I know.
Uh-oh, what's next stop?
Next stop is.
Yeah, there's a couple of the babies. That's true. Yeah. So the ones that died.
Okay.
Troy is scanning, so you guys don't trip over a pipe and then
Oh, okay,
Trenches
duh.
and pipes so wide.
So that's what that light was.
ready again.
Maybe or maybe not. Hmm. Oh yeah, we didn't have to climb over. Yay.
So the best way is to kind of shine your light almost like looking down exactly.
Now, we are at the final resting place of a very important figure to Union Colony history. He happens to be the founder of Union Colony, in fact. Now, Nathan Meeker is not really buried where we're standing. He is more right behind you. His body is right about this way here. Now, Nathan Meeker, what a guy. Oh my goodness. So, our story actually begins in New York, where a man that you guys have probably heard of, Horace Greeley, where he was working as a newspaper editor and publisher. He was actually the founder of the New York Tribune. This is all in New York. Now, Greeley himself.
She's all trying to go into my lap.
I know, I'm like, wait, hold on, let's huddle.
His associate was named Nathan Meeker, and one day Greeley calls Nathan Meeker into his office in New York at the New York Tribune where they worked, and he goes, "Hey, you know what, Nathan Meeker? There's a whole lot of places in the United States where you can just go and get drunk. I think that you should go build a colony where you're not allowed to get drunk, so that people will focus together and they'll work towards the common good, and we'll have a good, beautiful, Christian-based, wonderful little colony." So go out west, Nathan Meeker. Go using 7 guiding principles of irrigation, education, home, faith, family. The big one, temperance, though. Temperance meaning prohibition, no drinking. So go out west, use these 7 guiding principles, and go build a colony. Goodbye. And that's what happened. So Nathan Meeker comes out here in 1870, a little while ago, and Meeker begins to build Union Colony. Now, he is trying really, really hard to have the town focus and have everybody just do the right thing. You can go to the theater, you can go to each other's homes, you can be social, you can do, musical, theater, all kinds of things. You can ride bikes, but make sure you don't drink alcohol. Alice will tell you more about this in a minute, but the people of Greeley, in fact, did find a way to drink alcohol, but more on that in a minute. So Nathan Meeker ended up getting in a conflict. Maybe you guys have heard of the White River Massacre. Now, that was pretty bad news. What essentially happened was Meeker, who was the Indian agent of the area. What does that mean? The Indian agent is a person appointed by the government who essentially has permission to speak on behalf of the government to Native American tribes. So Meeker was appointed that responsibility. Now, things unfortunately did not go well, and Meeker, just doing his duty, went to approach the Native Americans, although unfortunately there was a major conflict because the Native Americans did not appreciate being told how to live, how to farm, all these things on their own land where they had been forever. So, things got bad, and Nathan Meeker, actually the way he met his death was that he was taken by his hair, and he was tied by his hair to a horse's tail. And the horse was then commanded to run, and Nathan Meeker's scalp was ripped completely off of his head. Terrible, terrible. Unimaginable, really. Now, just a little side note, Nathan Meeker's scalp, for a long time, the scalp itself was preserved in the Greeley History Museum. Isn't that the craziest thing?
Sorry, that was involuntary.
I know, it's a little disturbing, more than a little bit. Now, the reason his scalp is not in the museum anymore is because some laws have changed. Laws involving Native American, things that are pertinent to Native American history, as well as laws pertaining to human body parts in museums. Now, these 2 different laws made it so that the scalp had to be surrendered, and nobody knows where it is. I heard an EMF go off. Anyway, so Nathan Meeker's scalp is not buried with his body, as morbid as that is. Now, Meeker was thought to be an angry individual in his life. A lot of anger, a lot of tension surrounding him. He is supposedly the same in his afterlife, with the Meeker house being very, very haunted by his spirit, but in a more angry, aggressive way, which would actually kind of make sense when you think about the manner of his death, to be scalped, how awful, but also the fact that his scalp was used as kind of a showpiece. Exactly. I mean, wouldn't that piss you off? That would piss me off. So either way,
He also got sent out to do a task that really couldn't be done.
yeah, he was up against a lot when you think about it from his perspective.
going back to Greeley for a second, Horace Greeley, that is. Does anybody have a guess how often he came to visit Union Colony, which would later become named after him? Once. He came here once on his way to Denver. And he essentially said, hey, everybody, make sure you don't drink. Okay, see you later. And he never came back.
Good job.
So such as that. Now, why don't we have our lovely Alice tell you guys a little bit more about the history of Prohibition in Greeley, and then we'll investigate Meeker's grave. There's many other Meekers buried here, by the way, not just these.
Okay, I'm gonna move around so I get my. Yeah, my legs.
Okay, so a little bit more about the temperance. We're not going to tell you a whole lot because we go into it a lot on our other tours. But so his temperance and his little mission, unfortunately, this town had a lot of other plans. And the fact that, have you guys ever heard about the Greeley tunnel systems?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's how they would. Well, no, they started by saying it was for construction materials, which made sense at the time. Transport it away from the rich people, keep it out of their eyesight. But it wasn't used for just that. Yeah, it was used for construction, but as soon as it wasn't used for construction anymore, well, they took that chance to start using it for the sex workers, the drugs, and of course, our favorite in this city, alcohol. It was mostly used for alcohol for a very long time, up until they were shut down due to the fact they were unsafe, and it became legal. And does anyone know when it became legal?
1969.
I'm so proud. It's my favorite year. 1969 it became legal, and ever since then we have thankfully had alcohol. God bless, Meeker. So, while we are over here, we'll go ahead and do some investigating. And what do we want to bring out for over here?
Balls.
Right.
We
So
get more
we've got
activity
spirit balls on the other side for some reason.
Oh, I just set them up because I was setting them up.
Oh, so we go on that side?
What is this number on the bottom?
I mean, he's not even buried there. So.
Mine says 67 degrees.
I wish.
What is your
Yeah, it's the Paratech. That's what I have set up. And then there's 2 spirit balls right here as well.
What is that?
Now that's called Paratech, and that's that spits out the words.
Oh, okay. It's one of those the apps.
Yeah, one of the word apps. Yep. Now we also have Rosine, Ralph, Josephine, Mary, and Sean.
mine says
So unfortunately, a
There's like a
Meeker.
whole bunch of Meekers. This is just this one thing.
it's like 16.
Do we have anybody from the Meeker family that can light off our spirit balls for us, perhaps? We don't have Josephine, do we? I think you were here with us last week, Josephine.
Oh, next thing. Just debunking here.
Is that her dad? Josephine's dad?
Oh, it was Meeker, her dad. I don't
No,
think
they're not related at all.
I don't think he had children, but they're in the same bloodline. I don't
Yes.
know if he had children, actually.
So we have their
His wife, I think, was Arhilla. She's on the other side.
Did they ever keep the scalp at the house when they did tours? That's what I'm just wondering.
Not that I have heard of. I
Okay.
think it was pretty strictly in the archives of the museum.
Okay.
And more recently, and I actually was talking to an employee at the museum, and she was like, his scalp is somewhere. We don't know where, but it is. Somebody has it.
Huh.
Somebody has a scalp.
Isn't that gross? Why would you?
Well, you said that
So
it was
disturbing.
law that you can't have a museum. Is that Colorado law? Because I've been ripped, believe it or not, and they have a brain split in half in a display.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Body parts can still be on